Recording in progress.
Good evening and welcome to the September 27th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. Section 40 of Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023 allows for the continuation of remote meetings. As such, this meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference and is also being broadcast on cable channel 15 and streamed online by FCTV. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. Thank you to our staff for their continued support to this commission and their diligence assisting applicants. We're missing 2 commissioners tonight. However, we have a quorum. We're moving forward. Just a reminder, you guys commenting, they'll call on you at the appropriate time. And the votes have to be done by roll call. So when I call your name, state your name and your vote, even if you've made the motion or the second. To our public participants, at any time during this meeting, you may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. If you'd like to be heard on a specific hearing, let us know via the chat function. Then at the appropriate time, I will call for public comment. When you are selected, you'll be moved into the hearing as a participant. As such, you must have your video enabled, be succinct, and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Regarding RDAs, under a request for determination of applicability, the applicant is asking the commission to determine if the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and/or the Falmouth Wetlands bylaw apply to their proposed project. A negative determination is that the provisions of the act and/or the bylaw do not apply. Therefore, the project may proceed as proposed. However, a positive determination means that the provisions of the act and/or the bylaw do in fact apply. Therefore, the project would require a notice of intent application. So as an applicant, you really want to hear a negative determination. For the benefit of anyone waiting for a particular hearing tonight, and so that you're not waiting unnecessarily, the following RDAs and hearings are expected to be continued. 120 Old Dock Road, 95 Glen Ave, 11 Juniper Point Road, 170 Hatchville Road, 459 Central Ave, 39 Juniper Point Road. Probably would have been easier to read what we're actually going to hear tonight. But hey, that's just me. All right, first up, vote minutes, September 13, 2023. Anyone?
Move approval of the minutes.
Gladfelter, second.
All right. We have a motion and multiple seconds to accept the minutes as submitted. Any questions or comments? All right, we're voting to accept the minutes. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes. Thank you, Kristen. Next up are requests for a continuance for under a determination of applicability. Ryko and Brian Henricks, 120, 125, and 130 Old Dock Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to vista prune according to FWR 10.1810B. Jen or Alyssa, I'm not sure where I should go with this.
I can take it. The applicant is
Alyssa,
requesting
it
a
is.
continuance until October 25th.
So moved. Gladfelter.
Bird, second, and the reason?
We are waiting on the staking of the site.
Okay.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to continue this till October 25th. Betsy.
Aye. Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until October 25th. Next up for request of continuance, Angela and Joseph Celia, 95 Glen Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. for permission to construct an addition and after-the-fact permission to install 2 sheds and a patio and expand the parking area. Ms. Bergeron,
The applicant is requesting a continuance until October 18th.
Bird,
So moved.
Bird,
Gladfelter.
Bird second.
all right. We have a motion and a second to continue this until October 18th. Any questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until October 18th. Next up, again, under a request for continuance under an RDA, Josephine to give 11 Juniper Point Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to pump, fill, and abandon the existing cesspools and to install a new Title V sewage disposal system. Ms. Bergeron.
I'll give that to Jen. She has the email with the date on
Alrighty.
it.
Sorry about
Thank
that.
you.
We'll share.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until October 18th.
Bird, so move.
Gladfelter, second.
All right. I can see why you had to pass that one off, Alyssa. I'm kidding. Questions or comments? All right. We're voting on a continuance until October 18th. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until October 18th. Next up, our request for continuance under a notice of intent. First up, Town of Falmouth, 170 Hatchville Road and 30 Hunky Dory Farm Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to modify the existing channels, create aquatic habitat, remove some of the existing water control structures, create microtopography, restore disturbed areas, and create recreational opportunities. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until October 18th.
Bird, so move.
Patton, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this hearing until October 18th. Questions or
Excuse me,
comments?
Mr. Chairman, which one was this?
170
Falmouth.
Hatch, yeah, the Town of Falmouth. That's right, because they don't have the address on the cover sheet.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry, should have said that.
And it's the Upper Coonamessett River, right?
Correct.
Correct. All right, we good? All right, we're voting on the continuance to 10/18. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve. I saw your lips move.
Patton, aye.
Thank you. Is unanimous. We've continued this hearing until October 18th. Next request for a continuance, Richard Von Turkovic, 459 Central Avenue, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct 2 additions and a covered porch, reconstruct the front entry and install mitigation plantings. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, they are requesting a continuance until November 29th.
Wow.
Gladfelter, so moved.
Patton,
Bird,
second.
second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this hearing until November 29th. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting on this continuance. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this hearing until November 29th. Next up, Andrew J. and Joanne B. Whitus, 39 Juniper Point Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a deck with spa, patio, walkways, and retaining wall to reconfigure an existing driveway and to install mitigation plantings. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, they are requesting a continuance until October 18th.
So moved, Bird.
Gladfelter, second.
all right. We have a motion and a second to continue this till October 18th. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting on the continuance. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this hearing until October 18th. All right. We actually have something to discuss here. All right. Request for determination of applicability. First up, David Howes, 49 Grand Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct a two-story addition on an existing dwelling. Ms. Bergeron.
Thank you. Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so moved.
Gladfelter, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? Courtney?
Question, is this floodplain?
Yes, sorry, I should have said that.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Again, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Any other questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Ken and Beth Patrick, 10 Deer Run Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to replant a mitigation area and to conduct minor invasive species removal and tree work. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so moved.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Any questions or comments? All right, we're voting on accepting staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Thank you, Alyssa and Emma. The next one had been previously continued. The next two have been continued, which brings us to requests for hearing under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. As a reminder, for public commenting is limited to 3 minutes. So I encourage you to stay within the purview of this board, which are the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw, and how they pertain to a particular application. The chair reserves the right to stop any commenting that is disparaging or inconsequential to the hearing. First up, Michael Tenanos, 86 Edgewater Drive East, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reconstruct a dock. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted Mike Borselli up to present his project. Evening,
Excellent.
Mike.
Mr. Borselli, you're up, sir.
Good evening, all. For the record, Michael Borselli, Falmouth Engineering. I represent the applicant, Michael Tanianos. And with your permission, I'd like to share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tanianos owns the property at 86 Edgewater Drive East. The property has a single-family dwelling on it, an existing licensed fixed pier, and other typical residential property appurtenances like landscaping, driveways, etc. It's on the waters of the Childs River, and the wetland resources include land under the ocean, land containing shellfish. There is a band of band of salt marsh shown on the plan, and there is a low profile coastal bank as well. And then beyond that, Landwood is where the development of the house and the rest of the property is located. The proposal is to remove the existing licensed fixed pier and in its place install a new fixed pier that meets all the performance standards of the Falmouth wetlands regulations and the Massachusetts DEP regulations. We performed water depth soundings and verified that there is an excess of 3 feet of water at the terminal end of the dock at time of low tide. You can see the soundings in parentheses 4.6, 4.0, 3.8, 4.7. Where the existing pier is located, which is kind of tough to see because we're building right on top of where it's currently located. But there is a finer line, and you can see it in here. It ends right here. It ends in shallower water. It's only 2 to 2.5 feet at the end, and it does not have a T. It's just a straight dock. And the water depths don't really work for the current boat. The boat's a typical, center console boat, and that you can't tie to the dock safely without the keel bottoming out at low tide. We hired the services of PM Newberg to do a shellfish survey. The results of the shellfish survey were part of the application, and the density of shellfish is, I guess, unfortunately for the environment, only about 0.33 per 9 square feet. Fortunately, if you're trying to get a dock, it does not exceed the threshold for significant density of shellfish. We sent the plan to the harbor master to get his comments. He had no comments. He reviewed the plan. The new dock will be a vast improvement over what the existing dock is, and it's best illustrated by looking at the profile of the dock. First, for reference, if you look closely, you'll see the profile of the existing dock, starting with a ramp that's just above the salt marsh, and it's at the base of the coastal bank. So you get off the dock and walk up some steps up the coastal bank. The entire structure of the fixed pier is almost touching just above the salt marsh, and then it ends here. It has a series of pilings that are spaced tighter together in the salt marsh. They're smaller, but they're spaced tighter together. The new dock is shown in profile as well on here. You can see that the new dock is elevated above the salt marsh. It's elevated above by the required DMF newest standard, which is the underside of the stringers must be elevated 1.5 times the width of the dock, which means elevated 6 feet above the salt marsh to the underside of the stringers. So you can see there's a dramatic difference there. It's also now elevated sufficiently for public access. The existing dock has planking. The new dock will have the 50% sunlight penetrating through flow decking. It'll be elevated over the salt marsh, and then it'll ramp down to a lower elevation, and it'll terminate out here at a fixed T. I'll zoom in on that for you. And the fixed T measures 520. That'll allow the boat to tie parallel to shore instead of perpendicular to shore. We show the mooring field where the boat will be tied and demonstrate the water depth is adequate. The pile spacing has been increased. The piles are 16 feet on center. They're 10-inch diameter. And we were able to have it so there's no 10-inch pilings in the salt marsh. And because of the increased span, there's only 2 6x6 posts in the salt marsh. The rest of the salt marsh is entirely bridged, and the new dock is elevated higher. I think that sums up the proposed dock. Staff issued a staff report, and there was only one comment related to the dock, or 2 comments. The first was, since the dock is reconstruction, will a new license be obtained, or is the existing license being modified? To answer that question, there will be an entirely new Chapter 91 license applied for if you will issue a favorable order of conditions. And at the time of the staff report, there was no DEP file number issued. That was yesterday. At 5:10 today, DEP issued the file number, and here's a copy of it: 025-4900. So I think that sums it up, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thanks, Mike. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mike, are you gonna update that coastal bank delineation for me?
Absolutely.
Okay, so just a few things. There were some unrelated hardscape, unrelated to the dock. There was some hardscape that we found in the front yard. So Mike is going to be doing an updated survey for us in the front yard, and we had a question on the delineation. Mike, I'm going to just have you redo the delineation on a revised plan for this project.
Yep.
And then we'll move forward.
Okay.
The applicant and Mike asked us if we could go forward with the dock project, because it does take quite a long time to go through the permitting process for a dock, with the assurance that they'll be addressing the hardscape in the future.
Yep.
There are some checks and balances we can use to make sure that happens. We did let the applicant know that they will be going to the Board of Selectmen in a couple of months, and the selectmen will be sending us a referral. So we should have some movement on the issues in the front of the property prior to us responding to a referral from the Board of Selectmen. But
Yep.
other than that, Mike answered the questions we had on the dock, so I have no further comments, Mr. Chairman.
all right. Ms. Bergeron,
No comments. Thank you.
all right. Betsy,
No questions, no comments. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Mike.
all right. Courtney,
No questions or comments.
all right. Jen, I don't know, it might be a procedural question. We don't allow extensions, but this is under 100 feet. So is that why it's allowed to grow?
Well, they meet all the performance standards. We don't allow extensions unless they're meeting the new unless they're meeting the current performance standards.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I should have probably mentioned that. Your maximum length of dock is 100 feet from the landward edge of salt marsh. This is 94 feet. And of course, you wouldn't allow an extension in a velocity zone.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, it's just clarification for me. Thank you. Kevin,
No questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
okay. Steve,
I don't have any questions, but I guess I'm gonna have to look up the regulations on DEP and what you have to do to get a dock. Sounds more complicated than going to conservation.
It's the
Yeah.
Chapter 91 licensing process that takes quite a bit of time, Steve.
And you have to go to the selectmen.
Yeah, they have to
Yeah.
come here, then they have to go to the Board of Selectmen, because there's I call it a quirky little zoning provision in our zoning bylaw that requires selectmen to sign off on all docks. And then once Mike has those approvals, he can apply then to Chapter 91 for the license. And that process takes quite a while.
Yeah. Ironically, it's not more complicated. It just takes a lot of time. Your review is so thorough that by the time we get to them, they have nothing to really say. We just have
See
to,
what we do to help you out.
yeah.
Jen, is
Appreciate
there
that.
anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat function, Mr. Chairman.
Then I'll make a motion to close this hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird second.
Excellent. All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Last call for questions or comments. Seeing none, we're voting to close the hearing. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Borselli.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
You too, Mike. Are you done?
I'm done.
Lucky you.
Have a good night. Thanks.
Night, Mike.
All right, the next one had been previously continued. Brings us to Friends of Nobska Light, Inc., 233 Nobska Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to conduct invasive species removal and restoration. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am promoting the applicant's representative. Give me one moment, please. Fine. Yes. Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've promoted Tyler Gundro from Environmental Landscape Solutions to present his project at the lighthouse.
excellent. Mr. Gaudreau, you're up, sir.
Great, thank you. Everyone, for the record, Tyler Goudreau, Environmental Landscape Solutions, representing the applicant Friends of Nobska Lighthouse for their project at 233 Nobska Road. The resource areas adjacent to the site is a top of a coastal bank, and the proposed project is to remove invasive species within both Zone A, Zone B, and replace with mitigation. So the general design we're hoping to achieve was we're hoping to get as much mitigation towards the Zone A that's located on site. So to the left, we have a mix of different native shrubs. And then along the Nobska Road, we have a mix of both native shrubs and flowering perennials. And then along to the right of the plan, we have a flowering meadow. We've called out all the trees that are located on site that are to remain. And as part of the process, we're hoping to do an herbicide application this fall, which would consist of both overhead spraying with a backpack sprayer, followed by a cut and stem treatment. One of the staff comments mentioned the removal of the root systems, and as part of the restoration, we follow a protocol where we remove the root systems at the end of the process in order to see any new growth that's coming through. And the primary area is this large strand of Japanese knotweed, which is in a large massing. And we really want to get the process going now of the removal and do some monitoring in the spring. In the application, we called out a normal protocol for a spring spot treatment. And once the project's completed, we'll install the outlined mitigation plantings. So I'll take any questions.
Thank you. You can stop sharing.
Yes.
Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Tyler, do you propose anything, and if you said it and I missed it, I apologize, to delineate those pollinator gardens so that they're not mowed?
Yeah, so I was speaking with some of the representatives, and there's an existing white fence that is proposed to be replaced. We were hoping to add maybe some signage there that allows it to be called out as a restoration area, so it's sure to be mowed or not to be mowed. I do have a call out in my conservation notes for an annual mowing, but if that's not allowed, we can remove that and send a revised plan.
Okay, thank you.
You good?
I'm all set, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Bergeron.
I have no questions. Thank you.
All righty, commissioner comments, Courtney.
Yes, so, you think you not miss the window for the herbicide treatment to get the knotweed and so on?
So typically a late summer application is the best. I think that we could still have some success, especially with the knotweed area, it being so dense. We think that especially with the combination of the spraying and the injections, we can follow up next year as opposed to waiting a whole season of growth.
Right. You got to do it in the fall. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wondered whether you'd missed that window. What percentage of success do you anticipate doing this?
So a typical application, you get between 80 and 90%. I think that we can achieve that with the right formulation, and given that it's a lot of the knotweed being the most significant in a large space, we can really, it's not expanded too far. It's in a conglomeration, if you will, but it's a very dense one. So I think we'll be successful there. To the right-hand side, there's a significant amount of bittersweet. There's a little bit of shrub honeysuckle, but the bittersweet is a little bit easier to get under control. I think we can reach that 90% threshold in that area.
Right. Do you figure now then you'll have a yearly monitoring plan?
Yeah, the goal is to follow up next spring, either with myself or maybe we can meet with the agents to see what's resprouting and what the best way to move forward is.
Yeah, I'm familiar with this because we've been doing a large project for about 15 years over in the Wissahickon Marsh with Phragmites, and they have to come by once a year to touch it up, in the fall. So it's an ongoing monitoring situation, so you should build that into your plan.
Okay.
I have no other questions. It sounds good.
Thank you. And I note the irony, Tyler, you're working on Nobska Road. You live on Nobska Road in Mashpee. How about that?
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah. All right, Kevin.
No questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, Steve.
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Betsy.
I also have no questions.
Wow. All right, Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
Then I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we're going to vote to close the hearing. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Steve.
Matt and I.
It is unanimous. We have closed the hearing. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you all.
Night.
Good night.
All right. Next up is continued request for hearing under notice of intent. The first one has been previously continued. Brings us to the next one. Alan D. Gertel, the Goulston Family Irrevocable Trust, 43 Sharon Ann Lane, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install a leaching alley, construct a pool, spa, patio, and retaining walls, and to install mitigation plantings. And this one was previously continued, but it had not been open. So the quorum is all of us here tonight. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I promoted Tom Bunker up to present his project.
Mr. Bunker, you're up, sir.
Yes, thank you for the record. My name is Tom Bunker with DSS Design. We prepared these plans for the Gertels to install a swimming pool, and I will share my screen and show them to you.
Thank you.
To click on share screen, I guess, to do that. Okay. Can you see me now?
Yes, sir.
All right. So this was continued. This was continued previously because the staff sent me some other information regarding the prior a notice of intent from 1995, which established a limit of work, saying that nothing seaward of that limit of work would be disturbed. And that limit of work we show on the plan here. Well, it's beneath the new limit of work I show, but it is a line of straw bales along here. That's the 1995 limit of work, and that's our current limit of work. This project abuts Green Pond, where there's a salt marsh running along it, and it's in flood zone AE elevation 13, which runs up to here. So the salt marsh has a 100-foot zone A in this location, which curves up around through the house and up to elevation 13. Basically, they're coastal banks, which is outlined here. Rises above it a little bit, where there's a 4-to-1 slope in this location, where the steps go down path. There's a steeper area. A 50-foot zone A right here, coastal bank zone A, runs along and wherever that went over to here. And of course, it has the remaining 100-foot. Remaining 50 feet of the 100-foot is a zone B of the coastal bank. So when we got to the site, there was a retaining wall through here, not a very high retaining wall, but this area downhill from the 1995 limit of work had been made lawn, and there's mulch and plantings and more lawn down here. There is chain link fence running around it. After we surveyed it, and actually by the time we had filed, there had been some clearing done further down the hill in these areas. And so what we had to do was put this area below back into the native, revegetate it with the native plants. And that's 568, 1,239, should say the total somewhere, but it's 2,900 square feet of restoration planting, which is shown by the green plus signs, and then down into here, restoration, where it was recently brush cut down there, but keeping the path down the hill. And then for some reason there was this large stone gravel area through here, which we're taking out and converting it to lawn, but retaining the path, the gravel path through here, and the path downhill from here is already grass. They walk through there. So part of that path through here will be lawn, but it'll still be a path. So the stone will stop at the limit of work. The stone that's remaining will stop at the limit of work. So within this limit of work here, from 1995 and 2023, proposing a swimming pool in this location, which is just outside of the zone A, and it's already not naturally vegetated. And the spa, the patio around it, there is a downspout right here. It's the staff report connecting downspout to the leaching galley. So we're proposing a leaching galley in this location where the this downspout will, the dry well, this pipe is being cut by the installation of the patio and the pool. So the pipe will be redirected over to this leaching galley, and the galley is there also for the pool equipment. Pipes will run, wires and pipes will run, back and forth here. So some of the piping can go to the galley for draining, overflow, or what have you is required in the normal use of the swimming pool. So taking out this area here, we take out the area of gravel, we did count as removing surface within the zone A as an offset to the new surface. And there's also gravel underneath here, and gravel walk and stone steps coming down here. So the swimming pool and the patio is going over a lot of currently covered land. So we have the pool and reduction in zone A and in coverage in zone B, but also more gravel being removed from zone B. So we showing a net 0 coverage, no mitigation planting required, but we do have 2,900 square feet of restoration planting back in here. And the staff report said that they feel that this wall should be removed also. And I suppose that helps put it back to its natural state also. I hadn't thought of that, but that I'm sure can go too if that would be required. So we have now delineated a vista corridor through here from the deck, and show, in addition to the 2,900 square feet of shrubs, three new trees, native trees, the 1 per 1,000 square feet of planting outside of the vista corridor. I will take this down and take your questions.
Thanks, Tom. Jen?
Yes, Tom, did you have a square footage of what, you have a square footage of what you're restoring. So we could give you a plant count since you didn't give us any species or anything, correct?
I'd have to look at
It has it on there.
Oh, okay.
320 to 370.
Oh, perfect. You addressed that already. Thank you, Tom.
Yep. Thank you, Jean,
Perfect. Then I don't have any other questions other than Tom, can you talk to me about your vista corridor, because it's going to have to grow up. There's nothing to establish because all the trees have been uplimbed and all the bushes have been cut. So
correct. Everything outside of that will have to be allowed to grow up naturally.
Correct, but they shouldn't. The applicant should not be cutting anything within the vista corridor until it grows up.
Until it grows up to.
Correct.
Yes.
And we'll probably require, since this is somewhat of a violation of an order of conditions, we'll require the shrubs and the restoration to go in before we sign off on a pool building permit or application for a pool. So please make sure your clients are aware of that.
I sent the I sent the staff report to the landscaper.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Ms. Bergeron.
Thank you. Just one follow-up comment regarding the vista. In addition to waiting for the plants to grow, if anything currently on the property in the vista they're looking to trim in the meantime, we do need to have an on-site with their arborist / landscaper, however complicated the work is, just so we understand everyone's on the same page with what's required for a vista. But that's it. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments. Steve, we're going to start with you.
Thank you. Thanks for reworking it and meet the needs of and definition of provided by the staff. I don't have anything to add to that.
Okay. Betsy,
No questions or comments. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Tom.
all right. Courtney,
Tom, the drainage pit for the pool, is that, the pool needs to be flushed on a regular basis or emptied and changed? Is that the intent of that?
Well, it's kind of standard. We put in some kind of a leaching pit for a pool. I don't really know all the particulars of it, but certainly when the water gets drawn down for cleaning or something else, it'll go into there.
My biggest concern is that you're using that same pit for roof runoff, and I would like to see you separate those dry wells between the drainage pit, because the drainage pit for the pool is mostly going to be gray water. It's not going to be leaves and junk and other stuff. And what I'm very much concerned about with dry wells for roof runoff is they over time get clogged with the debris from the roof. And I would like to see you put separate dry wells in there for that reason. Other than that, I have no problem with your plan.
I can put in a separate dry well for that one downspout.
Yeah, that's fine. You hate to put all this stuff in and then have it fall apart after 5 or 6 years because it gets clogged. Then you got to come back and reapply for an amendment and all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah.
all right. Kevin,
No other questions? Good project.
No additional questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
all right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
All right. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking we ought to have a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement and send Tom home.
Not yet.
And second,
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. Leave the last part out. We're not sending Tom home yet.
I wish I would.
Bird will second, because he can supply a revised plan for that extra dry well. Or we can condition it.
We can make,
We can condition that, Courtney. We'll get a revised plan out of Tom, right, Tom?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't wanna hold it up. No.
I live to revise plans.
good thing. All right. We have a motion and a second to close the hearing and take it under advisement. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we're going to vote to close the hearing. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Bunker. Next up. All right, somehow I think I skipped something here. All right, the next one had been previously continued. That brings us to and Mary Lou De Silva, 169 Walker Street, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a garage addition and install mitigation plantings. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Tom Bunker is still with us to present his second project of the evening.
Welcome back, Mr. Bunker.
Thank you. Never left. For the record, still, my name is Tom Bunker. BSS.
Oh, sorry, Tom. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you. I skipped a step. Courtney, you're not on this forum.
Okay.
So we still have 4, so we still have a quorum. Sorry about that, Tom. You can proceed now.
Okay. Yeah, for the record, I'm Tom Bunker with BSS Design. Prepared this plan, which I will share and show. Show and tell.
Excellent.
there it is. So at 169 Walker Street, we were here before with the same addition. You've heard the resource areas, land under a salt pond. There's a BVW along it, coastal bank. The entire lot's in a flood zone. They're proposing this addition, which will have a 2-car garage here. And so, we've made, at the request of the applicant, we've made some changes to just to kind of clarify. Really doesn't want to lose more lawn than would be. That acorn was just rolling across my roof. That's why I paused to listen. So there's this strip of planting here that wasn't done that it was unpermitted and under a previous notice of intent order of conditions, and it wasn't done. It seems so the edge of lawn is still along here, and there's this amount and this amount that's still left to be done, and it will be done. I think the labels are missing, but it's and they really don't want to lose more lawn when this gets done. They don't want to lose more than this would take. So it had me remove other impervious surfaces. There is now a brick walk through here. I think that was 38 square feet. It tightened up the limit of work some here, so it's just the 10 feet, and before it was more, but not affecting this honey locust, which is just barely 10 feet. Brick walks here to be moved, and also there's an additional bit of this existing driveway in the zone B to be removed, and we do show it as a gravel surface, and in discussions I said, well, it is really one of those hard packed gravel surface that is not pervious at the moment. The staff report said that a gravel shouldn't be counted in the mitigation calculations. So I went back out. I knew there was something extra about that. I did go back out and I scraped away. I have some pictures. I scraped away and basically saw that see if I can it actually is it's an asphalt surface with pea stone on top of it. That's actually a piece of the asphalt that's actually exposed. So, we had located this back in 2015 or something originally, and whoever was there at that time doing the survey just called it a gravel surface, but there is this asphalt underneath it. You see that this picture was taken at the area where one of the brick walks will be removed, and this picture was taken. You can kind of tell where. Whoops. One picture missing here, but it's this is taken back by the at the far end. This is in the zone A, but it's taken at the far end of the driveway. So I just wanted to show you that it is the so it took these samples or pictures along here, starting here where it's going to be removed, and asphalt underlaying the gravel or pea stone the whole way back. And so that, should be counted. It should have been called out for what it was originally as an asphalt with pea stone surface under there. So it should be counted as counting toward. The removal of this counting toward the addition against the addition of the garage. And one other thing we cut back on this little furry stuff here. We're supposed to be green. This actually is for gravel. I have where's the detail of it? There it is. Not panning so well. So it's a 2-car garage. So there'll be 4 granite tire tracks, 2 feet wide, leading to the garage. And this is in a straight. Cars come in, so there's no turning involved where, people, the cars aren't going to turn and go into the grass there or anything. So these 4 tire, the cutouts, the lawn grass here, so reduced more of the coverage that way, so that he could, because they want to keep the lawn. We have the calculations based on what we've done, taken out impervious coverage to offset the coverage created by the increase of the driveway or garage. Sorry. So we come to a point where there is a slight area right here, 52 square feet of vegetation in zone A, right here. It's more ornamental vegetation, ornamental in nature, next to this honey locust tree, which is not native. 52 square feet to be removed, and so we're putting that 52 square feet back in a location closer to the pond. And there are 2 trees being removed, 1 apple tree there, 1 cherry tree that's in the flood zone, but it's beyond the zone B. So we're replacing that with 2 trees over in this location, both of which are closer to the resource area than the trees that are being removed. So that's that, and I will come back to talk.
Thanks, Tom. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So, Tom, you're still proposing to move that walkway to that doorway that we discussed this afternoon?
Yes, VJ said that he believe it's gone, yes, and
so
I couldn't submit a revised plan this late anyway.
No, I know you couldn't. So I'm struggling with this one, Mr. Chairman. One of the walkways, it's the larger of the one coming off the driveway that's proposed to be removed, goes to a doorway. So we're removing it just to make the calculations work because the applicant doesn't want to give up any more lawn space. But at the same time, how are they going to get to the doorway? They're going to walk through the muddy grass, the snow. I mean, some of these, these trades off, the trade-off of taking away impervious and making it grass, sometimes it's just foolish. There are going to be stepping stones there. I can guarantee it in the future because there's a doorway there. The grass strips up by the garage. Those grass strips, Tom, they're in the gravel driveway that's now asphalt. So are we ripping out the asphalt to put that in?
Yes.
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 And we're shoving the grass strips up by the structure. Just to make the calculations work. I really just don't think it meets the spirit that Mr. Chairman, of when we were drafting the regulations, like this little manipulation of the impervious surface, although the numbers work, Tom is correct, his numbers do work. It's really not providing a benefit to the environment at all. So that's where I'm struggling with this particular design. Other than that, I don't have any additional questions. Nope, I have no additional questions, Mr. Chairman, or comments.
If I just may, I talked with Mr. De Silva, an hour or so ago, and he said that one doorway. I mean, he wants that one doorway is seldom used. They have the main front door, and I think a lot of people, once they have a garage and connected to the house, they can, walk through the connection from the garage. They said that doorway is seldom used.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting to be promoted to a panelist, so I am going to promote Mr. De Silva up so he can address the board and answer our questions. Mr. De Silva, we'll need you to unmute. Oh, perfect. Thank you, sir.
Can you hear me, Mincy?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for your time. Just by way of context, the reason we're doing this project is we don't have a garage for the house. And so that was the need to do it at all. And the only way to do garage work is what we did today. Okay. So that's the whole trigger. The house has been based since 1927. In fact, if I'd built the house today, we would moved it far away from the pond, right? It doesn't, but it be that as it may, is what we have. And the only part of it that we use is the lawn behind it, which Tom showed. The intent was to release as much impervious that we've inherited. We've inherited all the impervious stuff, and the intent is to release as much of that as possible. It's good for the environment. I think and Jen and Elizabeth and Emma have given us that feedback, which we've taken into account. The whole point is that we would use the side door to enter the house. So park the car in the garage and walk in. The door that Jen, you mentioned, isn't quite practical. It's a very high step, right? It's a very high step and goes into the wrong part. In fact, it leads straight into the cellar. And so, which is why we don't really care as much about that. We typically use the front door today, and now we're going to start using the garage and the side door, which is why, Jen, I don't think it's not a big deal for us. And we use it on a exception basis. And so, hopefully, Tom, I think that answers the question as to why we're doing what we're doing. In terms of making the numbers, we actually do want to make the numbers work. And the idea is to release as much impervious thing to compensate for the garage addition. Let me pause and I'll take any questions. In terms of intent, Tom obviously knows the rules and has been guiding us.
Thank you. Jen?
So, Tom, when you calculated out removing that walkway, did you come all the way to the structure, or are you leaving the stoop?
Just the brick.
The stoop is brick.
Well, okay, I just looked, but I didn't do it myself, but I'm sure I had my guy do just the walk.
Okay, so if we
I can check the numbers.
No, but if we remove the walkway, and Jamie, maybe this is a question for you. If we remove the walkway, if it's a really high step, is it still a code issue?
Well, there's a code to what the rise can be, the maximum rise. I wouldn't advocate to remove the step, because even if they're not going to use the doorway regularly, if there's an emergency, they have to get out, depending how high it is, they'd get hurt. So I wouldn't push for that to be removed.
Yeah.
The code doesn't require a walkway, but it requires the step.
Okay, that's all I needed to know, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
If you look at the plan, the walkways to be removed are gray, and the step, that one the step, whatever it is, threshold is still in a black line. So that's
Well,
not
yeah.
being removed.
Just clarifying.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Ms. Bergeron.
No questions. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments, Betsy.
I have two comments. One is that when we come to vote for this, we should have a small or a bigger split rail fence in the front, delineating the lawn and the planting area. And then the second is just a question for Tom, I guess. Did you consider for the driveway with the driveway strips to have permeable pavers?
No. Jen is shaking her head.
Well, Jen, I mean, what we've done in the past with permeable pavers is if they don't work, there has to be an area shown on the plan where there could be planting to compensate for it.
Where are you suggesting the permeable pavers would go instead of the grass?
Instead of the strips.
Instead of the grass strips, or the granite strips.
Well, you're going to have granite strips with grass in between, right?
Right, yeah.
Instead of the granite strips.
I'm
just throwing that out there.
I mean, it could. I don't think it would be. I know that you guys don't like the permeable things. I could put pavers in there instead of granite, for what it's worth, and it might cut down. The runoff a tiny bit.
I think Betsy's talking about the grass paves, and those will work when you have an area and it's not parked on all the time, and you just want a hard surface to drive on.
You're talking about the grass pave?
It's not going to work up here. You're shoving them up against a garage. They're surrounded by this pea stone asphalt gravel driveway. It's just not realistic.
All right, I'm just throwing it out there.
I know it. I'm just saying from a staff perspective, it's not realistic in this situation.
No, I think the grass pave, would be driven over too often to work properly.
To be practical there. Okay.
So grass isn't going to work if it's going to be driven on.
But it's not going to be driven on.
The granite's going to be driven on.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But still the question is, will the grass survive being that close in the shadows of the building? So should we require a mitigation reserve area?
It's not going to work.
Well, I think grass, there is shady grass seed blends. I think grass would work there. I have grass on the north side of my house.
So
not driving over it, Tom.
This isn't being driven over.
He's not being right. This isn't being driven over either.
Isn't that how you get into the garage? So you're going to go
on the stone, the granite strips is how you get in.
In between the tracks is where the grass is going.
You guys are reaching.
Well, I think in this case it would work. It's where people are heading directly in straight line shot into the garage, and people are going to line up their cars and drive in there and be on those strips. I know it doesn't work where cars are turning and things like that, but here
I know, Tom. I know you're making the best argument you can, Tom. I'm just not accepting it. I know you did the best you can with your plan, and you did a great job, but I'm having a really hard time with these grass strips in the middle of an asphalt pea stone gravel driveway where that's just going to get all, it's just, I don't think it's practical, and I don't think it's realistic to think it's going to survive long-term, and I don't think it meets the spirit of the regulations. That's where that's where I stand.
Would you,
But it's only these little grass strips, so the board can, I will write whatever order they would like me to write.
I'm sure it has been, and I can't cite any cases, but I'm sure something similar has been approved. But
Yeah.
we wanted to go overboard on the impervious reduction. Would you give us credit, at least in zone A, we've reduced it by 88 square feet, more than we used. Would you consider giving us credit for that?
I don't know what you're talking about, sir. I don't.
Maybe Tom, you could be more articulate than I am on this. Yeah.
yeah,
We've reduced the usage,
Yeah.
the impervious uses by more than what we're using on the addition by almost 90 square feet. We weren't solving for zero. We were not solving for zero, right? We've gone beyond what we needed for zero.
Solving for zero.
it's a net reduction in zone A. So, that's a benefit where almost 90 square feet is relieved of impervious cover in zone A. And then that is somewhat more than the addition that we've put on, is what BJ is saying. So it's an overall a net reduction. And a lot of net reduction in zone A.
Okay.
Okay, Tom.
Anything else, Jen?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Ms. Bergeron, I don't know if I asked you yet, so I don't know if I skipped.
I don't remember, but I don't have any comments.
Okay, thank you. All right, Betsy, you all set?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I was just going to say you were with me, so it's on to
Yeah,
whoever's
I
after
just-
me.
It went on, so I kind of got lost. All right. Kevin,
Yeah, I can't think of anything to add at this point. Thank you.
okay. Steve,
I'm not sure where we stand, but I don't have any other questions.
all right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function?
Nothing addition in the public chat, just that Mr. De Silva wanted to address the board, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, so I think that's something that's gonna have to, will be covered in deliberations.
So I'm going to make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
I'll
Thank you.
second that, Patton.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Are there any other questions or comments from the board? Mr.
No.
Bunker? Mr. De Silva?
Oh, thank you.
All right. We're voting to close the hearing. See,
Did you just call me, Jamie?
yes, I did.
All right, my vote is Gladfelter, aye.
Hey, Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve,
Patton, aye.
it is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. De Silva. Thank you, Mr. Bunker.
Thank you.
Tom's not leaving us yet.
Yeah.
Mr. De Silva is. Good night, Mr. De Silva.
Good night, Mr. De Silva.
All right. Courtney is back. Next up, William F. Salamini Jr., 114 Quaker Road and 0 Quaker Road. Map and parcel number 14-14-001A-002, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise, that is RAZE, an existing single-family dwelling, construct a new single-family dwelling, upgrade the existing Title V sewage disposal system, and install mitigation plantings. And I have that this was not open, so the quorum is all of us. And Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Bunker is here to present his project.
This is the Tom Bunker Show tonight. Welcome, everyone.
It
Welcome back,
is.
Mr. Bunker.
Thank you, and I'm looking for my I'm looking for my script, and the screenwriters have quit, so I don't know what to say.
Hey.
There it is. Okay.
Now we'll know the real you.
Yeah, the real me. Oh no. Thought I had it open. There it is, ready to go. Okay. Let me just, before I share, let me see if I got the right one. Yeah, that's, oh, darn. Okay, now I'm back. You probably saw me the whole time, but I didn't see you because I was fiddling with my files. Yes, for the record, my name is Tom Bunker, BSS Design. We prepared these plans for Bill Solomini Jr. at 114 Quaker Road. I'll share my screen and get into it here.
Thank you.
Okay, so frankly, I don't know. It's such a complicated site. Maybe I'll just zoom in. I have these little key maps around that show various things on the different pages. Basically, these plans are divided up into the east and west halves of the site. Most of the action is on the west half. That's sheets 1 and 3, which will be around here, around the house, but there is still something going on sheets 2 and 4, which goes up to Quaker Road. As you can see from here, the property extends from Quaker Road down to Buzzards Bay in this location. And on this plan, we have it drawn so you can see lot 1, this dashed line here goes up here. This is lot 1, this thin strip. Frankly, this plan, way back in the day, this plan is what prompted the planning board to require lots be at least 50 feet wide. This was just 20 feet wide, so that's my lasting impact on Falmouth zoning. Anyway, this lot 1 is 20 feet wide along here. Lot 2, they have the required frontage, so it comes in 20 feet wide, and then this is lot 2. At one time, way back in the day, under sometime long ago and far away, this could have been a buildable lot until the flood zones changed and the conservation regulations changed. So this plan is predicated on lots 1 and 2 being combined, because as you'll see, the septic system upgrade is partly onto lot 2 over here, and so it's the septic has to be on the same property as the house it serves, and so we have to combine that, combine the 2 lots. There may be probably some other reasons too. It's just ease of preparing one notice of intent rather than 2, or rather filing it under two different properties. So we have Buzzards Bay, flood hazard zone VE elevation 20 going into this location here. Then flood hazard zone VE elevation 18 is this area here going up to this heavy line. These are the flood zone lines, the heavy lines. And then there's a flood hazard zone AE elevation 16 right through here. Flood hazard zone AE elevation 15 running along here. And then there's a flood hazard zone AE elevation 17 running back in here. There's a wetland here and a wetland here that probably way back a long time ago. They were connected at some through here. The driveway, the house has been there for a long time. I have similar things, so okay, well, we have the BVW and coastal dune A and B zone. So there's the A zone around this wetland here and the B zone around this wetland. And then regarding this wetland, we have an A zone coming up to here and a B zone 100 feet out. See that B zone crosses the house. There's a coastal dune in this location here. And it was flagged. LEC looked at it and said there's coastal dune, right? A little strip of it along the top of the seawall here, and then it widens out into this vegetated area dune here. And so the A zone of the dune comes up right here, just about to the house, and the B zone of the dune includes the house. There's a tiny bit, I don't really have it highlighted, but there's a tiny bit right in here of where the only spot, pretty much the only spot on this side of the lot that's only in a zone B, not a zone A, just right in that location. So there's a tiny bit of increase in coverage in a zone B from the house, and that's right in that location. Anyway, that's the BVW and the A and B zones. And then we have the land subject to tidal action, A and B zones. Coastal beach, A and B zone. See the coastal beach, B zone covers the house there. Oh, let's see, coastal bank is everywhere on this property. There's coastal bank along the riprap here. So these triangles point toward the resource area or toward the downhill. So the coastal bank is here, and then there's a 50 and 100-foot A and B zone coming this way. There's a coastal bank right here facing this wetland. And so that has a 50-foot A and B zones going this way. There's coastal bank up here with A and B zones going landward, but then there's a coastal bank all along here with A and B zones going this way, and up in this location it goes seaward, and there's more coastal bank all around here. And then there's coastal bank all the way up to here, and so there's a B zone all the way up on all the rest of the property. There's flood zone up in this location and this location here. That's where the banks are there, but they're not within 100 feet of any other resource area. So this last bit has a B zone. The banks have a B zone, but not an A zone. What else? I guess maybe that's about it. That's about it for the abbreviated plans. Back up. Because it's too complicated really to show you all of this and try to explain it from here, but because of all these lines, it's like the spaghetti lines the National Weather Service puts out for tracking hurricanes. So anyway, the house is here, and it's in like this A line here is from the coastal bank coming from the inland. It's the offset from the inland coastal bank, and then there's the house is in zone A. Everything is in A or B. And velocity zones, unless it's an A zone. This is the existing conditions, and so the best I can say. So the coastal dune is here, and then the A line of the coastal dune is right here, and the B line of the coastal dune is back this one. Velocity zone, so it has a 25-foot FWR velocity zone here, So that runs along here and landward along that way. The driveway is all in zone A of some of it's zone A of wetland, most of it's zone A of coastal banks. Show the limit of work cutting through here. So this is one area here. We show the limit of work. This little bit right here, it's outside the lawn. This is one point that the staff asked me to make and point out. I can show you some pictures. There's I still think they're Leyland cypress right here. I asked Mark Manganello, and he said it's difficult to tell. They're either Leyland cypress or arborvitae, either of which are native. And there's a dead oak tree here, and brushy. If you'll bear with me 1 second. So this is just a picture of some pretty berries I saw along the porcelain berry. It's down by this is the path going along the inland wetland, and I couldn't even get into that. Whoops, these are paths out, obviously looking out toward Buzzards Bay. Let me go the other way though. This is one where this is an oak tree that's staying, but I neglected to mention that this trunk that's leaning this way would have to be trimmed off because it's going toward the proposed house. Let me go further. Okay, so this is the area here. This is the corner of the house or the deck right here, and see there's a flag here. This is the limit of work. There's the dead pine tree. I have some other views of it. This is a limit of work, and it's tied onto a handy vine of bittersweet. Just to point out, this is this arching vine here too. It's lost most of their leaves when I was out there last, but this bittersweet, I'm just showing. I talked with Jen, and she said, "Well, how can you tell the quality of vegetation?" And I agree. To some extent, certainly this has bittersweet. There's more of the bittersweet berries there. So it has a high percentage of invasive plants in it, non-native. These are this is the Leyland cypress. I don't know what happened to it. There's the other one there in poor health. So this is a limited work flag, and that when I have some other limited work, but it's cutting through this area where there's basically no. I took some pictures to show to when I was identifying it, but that's cedar. Okay. So this is a house corner here. These are this and this are the two Leyland cypress. This is I think a cherry. But it's staying anywhere. That's outside the limit of work. How did I get there? I had more pictures. Anyway, these are two honey locusts that were originally called oaks, but they're honey locust. Yeah, that's the house. Pardon me while I. Well, I had other pictures of that, but this area I was trying to point out is the Leyland cypress there, and there's a dead oak tree, and there's bittersweet, and I don't know what else. And it's also not woody plants. And there's herbaceous. I think there was what's that, seaside goldenrod. So there are some native plants in there. No doubt about that, but it's mostly herbaceous. And this is some 235 square feet, I think, and we show that to be replanted if we can get into that area for the purpose of the 10-foot limit of work in here. So this cluster of trees will be saved. All of these can't be saved for this proposal. Okay, the honey locust there, that's going, but that honey locust is staying. So that had been identified as a native tree at one time to go, but that's a non-native to go. There's another one, a euonymus, a tree form of euonymus that's going, not native. So I'll get to page 2, which shows the proposal. Oh no, that's the existing conditions. That's the existing conditions further out in the limit of work, which we added at one point. They said we really ought to show a limit of work on both sides of the road, so we added that. And these are the trees, the list of trees, and I updated this one with the Leyland cypress, but I didn't fix this one. But these are, yeah, the euonymus. Anyway, there's 11 conifers, including the 2 Leyland cypress there, 99 diameter inches, and 11 deciduous trees, including the euonymus and the honey locust. There's 125. There are some large oak trees on there. I have pictures, and particularly the 2 in the middle of the island, which we have shown to be removed right here. 2 24-inch oak trees. There's another 26-inch. These are old. If you look, this one has a hole going right through it. You know, they're big. There's a lot of cordwood in there, but they're not great healthy specimens. We have them slated to be removed, and they will be replaced. Back to this one. Let me get to page 3 here. So this is the area here. It's shown as 235 square feet here. It's added, it's in the mitigation calculations, which is not on this page, so it's included. It's fully being replaced, you know, in one of these spots. And we have some thousands of square feet. Oh yeah, staff said I really ought to move the limit of work here, which I moved this leaching area. I downsized it from 4 to 3 bedrooms, and I moved this leaching area out of the velocity zone, but I forgot to stretch the limit of work out to there. But I do show some mitigation. So this mitigation here is there's a 5-foot strip out, but it's not part of the stone. So, you know, the loam has to be taken out. So we show mitigation in that location. And then over the SAS itself, we're putting loam over it, but just the plant wildflower mix, whatever will grow in there, who knows, but it's not going to be lawn. This area here will be mitigation, 810 square feet. And actually this area is not mitigation. This is just restoration of 350 square feet around here. It's not part of the mitigation. But this is the house that's being proposed. It is not closer. I didn't go through all of this, but it's the existing house is 19 or 17 feet from the coastal bank. This is 17 feet here, 19 feet here. I had a dimension. It's more than 17 feet here on the coastal bank. It's This is the zone A. It's the house is 51 feet. This is all lawn here. So the limit of work can go out into the lawn, 51 feet from the, that's the coastal bank distance. There's the zone A of the coastal bank, so it's not coming within the zone A there. And then there's a zone A of, actually, that's the zone A of the coastal dune. And then there's a zone A of the coastal bank here, but it's this, like I said, this zone A here is actually the one coming from the other side. So this is where the house, this is the area where there's one little bit of house that's being increased in the zone B. Everything else is increased in the zone A. So this a little bit has 2-to-1 mitigation. So there are, like I said, 22 trees coming out, 22 being replaced, and then some 9 more being added as 1 per 1,000 square feet of mitigation planting. So there's, this is where the porcelain barrier is all in here. And like I said, I didn't even get into anything. It should be removed before all this planting is done. That's a whole nother item. So all of this path is being closed in. Jan asked, well, how are people going to get down here? So I left an opening path in this location, but it's closed off here so they can get down to this side of the wetland. And of course, this has been left open as much as possible, but there's a lot of shorefront being planted here. And this, and then there's some of this, the water. This will be an underground water service. That's go down 5 feet. That will be trenched. Of course, it's a very narrow trench, and they can do these now with a ditch witch that runs the tubing in behind it or whatever. But if they dig a trench, it will need dewatering. So I have a dewatering basin here. The telephone, if people would telephone in anymore, electric, whatever, cable utilities is not as deep. That will not be in the water, but that will be in the groundwater. I mean, but the running the water service will be in the groundwater, and we'll need dewatering. This is proposed to be removed and replaced, as the current staff report said. We had is 10 feet wide, which actually is 10 feet is wider than the pavement is now, so it decreased it to 9.5 feet wide. There are other areas other areas that could be mitigation planting, but that's not where we're proposing it. There's drainage here. So there's roof drains all around the house. This is in a velocity zone. You have the architectural plans. It's proposed to be above. There's, other than an opening here, if you want me to show it, Jen, I can, but there's, you know, the entry and stairs going up, and there's room in the future, or there's room perhaps now for a small elevator to go up here, but it's less than, at least not more than 200 square feet right in here. Otherwise, this is open. It's for parking. It's the carport. It's totally open underneath it otherwise. So we have the dry wells. There will be runoff coming down this driveway. I've taken a little bit of the pavement away from here, so there's room for someone to back out and turn and leave. We have a catch basin here with a detail for leaching. These are H20 leaching chambers. The low profile is only 12 inches high. These are the 125 gallon leaching chambers underneath it. So this will take water running off of here. Whatever isn't caught, you know, the roof runoff will be caught in the dry wells here. There is, I have to switch to the next one. Another set of another catch basin and leaching chambers here, again with the catch basin and 125 gallon chambers will be above. I have the groundwater, so it'll be 1.2 feet above groundwater using this system. And then the next one up here, the area is higher, and this one will be 2.7 feet above the groundwater for this. So where there is no drainage for this entire driveway at the moment, we'll have the driveway and with a berm along one side for the catch basin. So there will be 2 catch basins along here to catch as much as you can. Down in this location, let me go back to the previous plan. So the berm along there will end here. There's a ridge in this location. It basically pitches, but right here, the driveway will be crowned slightly as it is now. There will be some, probably less runoff than there has been in the past, but there will be some runoff that, because of the distance down to groundwater, it's just too low and can't be caught. What the drainage I have in is still an improvement over what's there now, which is none. So that's it. Let me go back up. Where's okay? That's the tree list. Somewhere I have the mitigation calculations. There they are. Yeah. So it's an increase of 2,700 square feet in zone A, and an increase after a decrease the width of the driveway. It's only a 77 square feet increase in zone B. So there's 8,278 square feet of mitigation planting. Plus this is the 235 square feet of that small area where the leyland cypress are. That's not strictly lawn, but it's a lot of non-native invasive plants, and that's the 235 square feet. To replace it requires 946 to 1,092 shrubs, plus there are 20 trees to be removed. No, there are 22 trees to be removed. My new tally showed 22 trees, sorry. So there have to be 2 more trees added to that list. And so there's 22 replacement trees. Unless I don't, well, that includes the 2 leyland cypress, which I have to replace non-native trees. I can add them in for 2 more cedar trees. And also plus, yeah, that amount of planting requires, 9 trees because of the amount of mitigation planting. So we have 29 trees to be planted with an 8,700 square feet of planting. Plus there's over here, over the SAS, there's another 350 square feet of replacement planting over where not directly over the SAS, but around it there. So there's a lot to explain, a lot to digest. I'll take this down and we can talk.
All righty. Everyone wake up.
Hey, it wasn't that bad, was it?
No, I'm kidding. It's a complex plan.
It is.
Tom, you gotta stop moving that plan all over the place.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You make me so dizzy.
Oh.
Vertigo. All right, Jen, you're up.
Yes. Thank you, Tom. Before I even start, Tom, you don't have a DEP number yet.
I know, I saw that and I tried calling Callie and
Yeah,
I
I
know.
just looked at her thing. She said she's still waiting for information from you. Do you know what information she's waiting for?
No, I didn't get anything
All
from
right.
her.
So we'll have to continue it just to make sure
I
you get
know.
that file number. I don't know why she hasn't issued it yet.
Yeah,
Unless she's getting this one, I don't know. But so Tom sent us this plan months ago. Emma dissected it. It was her first really complex plan. We gave her a whole bunch of highlighters and said, go out on the main table and rip Tom's plan apart," which she
And
did.
she
did.
survived.
Yeah,
she
she
survived.
did. And we've been able to work with Tom on a lot of the concerns that we had. So he's addressed a lot of the staff's concerns prior to getting this to you, prior to this hearing. So that's been great. Few small issues we're still grappling with is that where Tom was showing us all his wonderful pictures of his porcelain berry is where that limit of work is encroaching into that A buffer zone in that, what is it, that north corner of the house, that northeast corner of the house, Tom.
Yep.
So, staff is always going to hold the line and say that probably shouldn't happen. But
I saw you do something similar just last week with one, although
yeah,
I'm
and
sure
I pushed back on it. That was Tim, poor Tim
Yeah.
Santos.
there was probably some different circumstances, but yeah,
Yep,
Tim,
I
that was
pushed
Tim.
back. You're not alone. I pushed back on Tim
I
too.
know. But this, like I say, it's a lot of, it's bittersweet. I mean, we can
Yep.
sweeten the pot by tearing out
Yep, and
more.
the
whatever.
board will make their determination, Tom.
Yep,
So I think most of the questions or most of the concerns we've had, regarding limits of work, the drainage system, all of those have either been revised or addressed by Tom. He did submit the architecturals that show that the lower half of the house at grade is going to be all open except that, 250 square feet, Tom, you have, or something like that, of enclosed space. So
it's
we
not supposed
do
to be
have,
that much, but
what was that?
200. I thought it's not supposed to be. I thought I was under.
Oh, wait, here, hang on, Tom. You are at 200.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, so that the bottom, the only enclosed space is 200 and everything else is open. So thank you for the architecturals, Tom. And thanks for the rear view architectural as well. I just wanted to confirm something with this water elevation thing.
Yeah.
So other than that little tiny encroachment into the invasives for the limit of work, I don't have any other comments. And then Tom, you addressed our comment this afternoon about the IA systems. This
Yes.
is not in a nitrogen impaired area, therefore will not be subject to the new Title V regs that will require D-nites on certain properties. Perfect. All right. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. Ms. Bergeron.
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Wow.
We've already gone over this
impressed.
plan with Tom.
I go
No,
and sleep now.
kudos to all of you. I mean, she survived. That's perfect. There's a lot to look at on this plan. So, Tom, thanks for working with
There is.
staff. Staff, thank you for vetting this so well for us. I, for one, appreciate it. So, commissioner comments besides mine. Kevin.
I would just like to second your comment. If this turns out to be a successful plan, it has to do with a lot of hard work and cooperation between the agency and the designer. Thank you.
Excellent. Steve.
this plan in the third reading. I think if I said I understood it all, I would be exaggerating considerably. I think it'll be a beautiful project.
It will be.
Very complicated. And I'm glad we don't have these skinny little lots to deal with a lot of times.
Right.
Let's see. Betsy, you're muted. Oh, there you
Nope,
go.
I want to second or third or fourth. And thank staff. It's a good thing. Emma took the challenge, and I know you guys all work well with Tom, and thanks, Tom. It was complex, and yeah. And when I first saw the plans, I'm like, what?
It took a while to figure out how to show it and present it. It was just, yeah.
Yeah. Was a you love challenges, Tom?
Yeah. Right.
That's all, Jamie.
Enthusiasm. All right, Courtney.
Yeah, so, and I'll second everybody else's comments. I think you've done a great job to make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. And I have a couple of things. One, you know, I'm a bear on limits of work and not in all of that, as you well know. And so if I sound horrendously inconsistent, it is that I am. I would not have a huge heart attack if you were to do some kind of restoration of that area where you know, where it's all porcelain berry that you would like to get into to extend the limit of work. But if you were able to convince Jen that was a great idea, you wouldn't be able to count it as mitigation. It would just be restoration. Anyway, that said, the only other thing which really doesn't bear too much on what you're doing, you are running a lot of underground utilities in from the street. I think you mentioned electric and water and cable television and telephone. My suggestion is that you put a couple of other blank conduit in that run, so that you don't have to dig it up again down the road. If for some reason down the road fiber optic internet comes down the road,
Yeah.
You're
working on.
Yeah, it's cheap money to lay that 2 extra conduits in there with pole boxes. Other than that, I think it's a great project, and have fun.
Thank you. Have fun. I had fun.
All right, Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, could I just mention about the kayaks and things? Well, probably not as we speak, but they're being moved.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion to close this hearing. And
We can't close it. We don't have a
can't
DEP
close it.
number.
Oh.
Tom,
Wait for the
I
number.
give you till next week. Do you think you can get Callie to issue you a DEP number? Like I said, when I just went on to the portal, it said waiting for additional information.
I left her a voicemail and an email this afternoon, but I caught that too late in the afternoon. And
It's okay. Do you
She
want
wouldn't
the
have been able to
4th?
send it today anyway.
Do you want the 4th or the 18th?
Well, if it's just information for her, but if that's the 4th would work, but if it's something I have to change, then.
So why don't we just move you to the 18th then?
Well, how about if I take the 4th, and if it turns out I have to change things, just another continuance to the 18th.
That's fine. I'm okay with that.
If it turns out to be only for the whatever information, just to get the file number out.
Yep, that's fine.
I'll
Okay.
request, at the request of the applicant, I make a motion to continue this till October 4th.
Bird second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this till October 4th, primarily for DP number. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we're voting on this continuance. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve,
Muted.
he's working on it.
Pat and I, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. All right, it is unanimous. We've continued this until October 4th. Tom, thank you.
Thank you. It was a
Thanks,
pleasure.
Tom.
I'm going home now.
Good night, Tom, for real.
For real. Three's a charm, right?
All right, next up, vote orders of conditions. First up, John and Judith Ramondi, 25 Beckles Road, Falmouth, Mass. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, give me 1 second. I'm gonna grab that. That's gonna go right there. Beckles, I think this was Mike's project just for all the little. So they're reconstructing the garage. In this rendition of the plan, they're doing some modifications to the entryways. And I think the concerns that staff had was the continued cutting on the actual coastal bank, along that little sitting wall, and that the slabs that are not shown on Mike's plan that were required to be removed, I believe it was for compliance, were never removed. So we would like confirmation that those slabs have been removed and the area has been, I don't know, what's it called when you buy little pieces of grass, sod or something that's seeded, put down prior to us signing off on the building permit for the garage. Betsy, you're muted.
You're saying it has to be restored to
Correct.
grass or plants put in, but
that's right where they're going out the door and they're trying to get over to that patio.
yeah, so it has to be
fire patio area. So, okay. Anything else? Do you have any notes, Alyssa?
I think the only other extra thing I have is there were some kayaks stored in the staircase down the bank. Those are currently in a velocity zone, so moving those out of the velocity zone and upland.
Okay. Kayaks. Okay.
So I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Bird second.
all right. And I didn't state it for the record, but the quorum includes all of us here tonight. All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions as discussed. Any other questions or comments? All right, we're voting on the order of conditions. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I,
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, John Stimson, 51 Homer Avenue, Falmouth, Mass.
Quorum.
Quorum is all of us here tonight.
This is the raise and rebuild down in Gansett. I believe they addressed all of the staff's concerns. I think, Alyssa, they had originally, was this open prior to last week?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was the week you weren't here.
Okay.
One of the weeks she wasn't here.
True.
ignoring you, Mr. Chairman.
I saw that.
That's causing too. I believe they've addressed everything. Maybe not.
Yeah, they were pretty thorough last week with enumerating all our concerns.
Yep, I think there's just some real concerns with the abutter and the wall in the back, and I think they are going to. They said they would take care to make sure that that wall was not undermined when they were excavating.
Mhm.
So, okay.
So I'll make a
Anything
motion
else? Okay.
to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Third, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. Any other questions or comments?
Just that probably to appease the neighbors' concerns, we might have a pre-construction with the contractor just to go over the concerns about the wall and the trees and everything, just to make sure
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
everything's covered and the project can move forward.
yep.
Okay. Anything else? All right, we're voting on issuing an order of conditions. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Third, aye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve.
No,
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Robert Murray, trustee, the Murray Family Trust, 2023, number 23, Hamlin Point Road, Falmouth, Mass.
This is Tim's plan with the little additions, garage additions, deck additions, and everything else, and the staff is still having concerns with these encroachments into the zone A with these limits of work. They can't construct what they would like to construct because they can't provide the appropriate limit of work. So now they're encroaching into your vegetated buffer zones. I think Tim made the argument that it's a lot of herbaceous and saplings and that he'd be restoring it to a more robust buffer zone. But I do want to caution the board that we're going down some little slippery slopes with some of the interpretations of the regs right now, and hopefully we'll be able to address that with you soon. But that was just my concern, personal concern with this.
So if I may, that's a legitimate concern. I don't belittle that at all. You know how I feel, a lot of jobs, a lot of these projects, you have to look at individually. I know it's tough because we worry about setting precedent. I personally okay with the encroachment in that it's required to be restored, and he is offering to restore it better than what it is. So in that regard, I'm okay with it, but as chair, I'm hesitant because of some form of precedent. But if somebody else came in with a similar project and they offered a similar solution, is that a bad thing?
Mhm.
And I also think, the only piece that is really impactful is the garage, which is, a big piece, don't get me wrong, but the other pieces are on piers that can be done by hand. So, I think if we had a finding that those had to be done by hand, that would lessen the impact as well. So there's a little bit of trade-off. So no, that's my opinion. Courtney, you had your hand up.
Yeah, well, I think this struggles to address the same issue as the previous hearing we were listening to, which is they restore an area, does it make sense? In other words, yes, we need to adhere to it, but is there a benefit derived through a restoration that, so you got to be balancing that and what our regulations say.
Yeah, and that, it's an ultimate benefit, I think. Betsy.
I think a key to this, though, is the finding that the work can be done by hand. So it limits the amount of kind of traffic in that corner.
You bet, right.
Okay.
And just for
Right.
clarifications, when you say work done by hand, you're talking about the excavation of the digging for the
Sonotube, for the
Yeah.
sonotubes.
Correct.
Yes,
Correct.
Okay,
So
that's
that
what I thought.
That doesn't help at the garage, but again, that's limit everything else.
How
and that
high is it?
helps.
How high is the deck off the ground? I've forgotten. Is it?
Like 2 feet off the ground.
not very high off. It's a low deck.
Yeah. I would have more of a heart attack if it was like 8 feet in the air.
Right, because it'd be more staging and what have you.
Yeah.
Right. But again, I don't mean to be too repetitive, but it just, if they're going to restore it, and that has to be a condition that, is enforceable. That, I don't know. Enough. Steve, did you have your hand up? I'm not sure.
No.
Okay. All right, Betsy.
But I think this is an area that also warrants a little fence.
I don't think there's
Because it's-
room for a little fence.
Right.
I mean, you've
Of
got
course
that
there's room.
wall.
Of course, there's room for a fence.
Yeah, you've got that like weird retaining wall though, and then he's planting, I think he said, correct me if I'm wrong, he said he was gonna plant viburnums over there. Those things
Yeah.
can get pretty big.
I know, but at least the start, because it's right off this porch that's only 2 feet off the ground. So if
Yeah, and
people
if the
step,
porch is only 2 feet off the ground, it's a low porch. And
right,
he's gonna put a wall of viburnums right in front of it. It's not practical again. I'm talking about reality and the practicality. I've got an arrowwood in my backyard that's 3 times the size of Dawn. I mean, it's huge. And
Well,
that's
maybe-
what happens when you just leave it alone. It
maybe we
grows.
should suggest a different species
I
there
think we're
then.
gonna have to, because if you're going to allow this to be restored, viburnum is not the way to go.
Yeah,
Because they're just gonna have a wall of
it'll
shrubs
have to be,
along their
yep,
back.
we got it.
All right, Courtney.
I think if we do decide to go the route with this project or other ones where we allow them to encroach into an area in order to satisfy a limit of work, I think absolutely the requirement would be that they'd have to restore it with natives, and that whatever restoration was done in connection with that could not be included in the mitigation calculations.
Oh, right.
Have to be in
Yeah.
addition to that. I'm not, I personally don't have a heart attack with something like that, because I was on the wrong end of that kind of tight work, limited work when I was trying to do a job. As one of the reasons I'm on this commission. So, but I think we have to be very careful about how we do this. And maybe that's something we need to deliberate on separately in terms of revising our regulations rather than addressing it here, because I think we open ourselves to the whole capricious and whatever else the terminology is.
I'm going to make a motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Third, second.
Okay, anything else? All right. Are we clear, Jen?
Yep.
Okay. right, we
Sonotubes
have 'em.
dug by hand on the decks over in that other corner. Lower shrubs in that area. The viburnums can be over by the garage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. We're voting on issuing an order of conditions. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve.
That night.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Chairman, we need to set up a special meeting to vote 169. Was it 169 Walker? Right, Betsy, you won't be here next week.
Won't be here on the 4th. I could be available between 10 and 2 on the 2nd, if you want to have the meeting then.
So wait, Courtney's not on that quorum.
That's correct.
Good.
So we need you. So you say 10 and 2 on the 2nd, that Monday.
All right, hold on. Our next meeting is the 4th.
I'm not here.
Betsy's not here and we don't meet the 11th, Mr. Chairman, and Courtney's not on the quorum for
Okay,
169
I'm
Walker.
sorry, I missed that. I
It's okay.
misunderstood what she said. Okay. So what do you want to do?
So Betsy
What do you-
says she can meet October 2nd, which is that Monday between 10 and 2 o'clock, Betsy?
Yeah, or after,
Or
or
the
after,
following
after
week.
4. I think Steve probably will be in school.
That's a
That
Tuesday.
day, I'd be free after 11 on that Monday.
October,
Okay, so
that's a Tuesday, is it, or a Monday?
Monday.
Monday, but you're not on the quorum, Courtney, so don't worry about it.
I have a short shift at the Island Queen, that's all.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, it's gonna be up to you. Kevin, are you good on Monday, the October 2nd?
Hold on one sec. Monday, the 2nd, yes.
Okay,
The next day, no.
okay,
So,
Monday the 2nd, Mr. Chairman, it's gonna be up to you.
Why is it up to me? You just said
Because
10.
can you
You're the
make
other-
it that day?
I'll do whatever time you want.
Okay,
If
so
we can't do 7 in the morning, then I guess we'll do it
Betsy, hang on. Steve, when are you available?
after
I could do
11.
7 in the morning, but I'm out until 11.
You're out until 11, okay. So how long will it take you to get home and to a computer, Steve, or at least a town hall, and you can come into our office?
15 minutes.
All right, we'll see you at 11. Why don't we do 11:30 on Monday?
If it suits the chair, I'd be willing to do that. Does my voice sound weird?
No,
Okay.
All right. So our special meeting is going to be Monday the 2nd at 11:30 a.m. And it's just for the purpose of 169 Walker Street,
yep.
issuing an order of conditions.
So
And
Justin.
you know where you're
can you
going
make-
with that.
One second, Steve. Justin, can you make sure we
I'm
post
sorry.
a meeting for that, or we have a meeting for that?
What's the date again?
It's Monday, October 2nd at 11:30 a.m.
Okay, yeah, I'll set that up. If you don't mind, just sending me an email.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Justin. All right,
There are ever circumstances where we vote orders the same night?
rarely.
Well, I mean, we couldn't do it anyway because we haven't advertised it, right? I mean, it's not part of the agenda.
No,
Okay,
it's not.
okay. And I knew there had to be a reason because. Okay. All right, so that's all set. So we have one more motion and second.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Patton, second.
Gladfelter, aye.
Word aye.
Aye.
O'Brien, aye.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.